Hey MJ traders and investors, it's Rod with Pow Group. Welcome back on The Pursuit of Wealth, your home for MJ stocks, crypto assets, and interviews. Also home to the best MJ community. Today's Saturday, September 30th. Hope you're having a great weekend. And in this video, we're going to do another edition of rapid fire news updates. This is going to be for September 23rd to 29th. And again, if anybody isn't familiar with these new videos in this new format, essentially we go over all the important news pieces that happened over the last week. And we talk about what's transpired and just a high level overview. It's not to go into deep details on it. It's just in case anybody may have missed it, you can dive into it more on your own time. But before we get to it, make sure to smash the like. It helps support me in the channel. I would appreciate it. It doesn't cost you anything. And if you're new, you can subscribe, tick the bell, all that good stuff, and you'll be notified on any future videos or whenever I go live. Also getting very close to 600,000 view mark on the channel and getting close to that 1 million. So pretty surreal feeling, and I really do appreciate it. Love each and every one of you who have supported me along this journey. Also, make sure to give Pow Group a follow on X, which is previously Twitter. The handle for that is @GroupPow. I'm going to be using that as my platform of choice going forward. Again, that handle is @GroupPow. Jumping right to it, NCAA panel formally recommends removing MJ from banned substances list for college athletes. This comes shortly after HHS's monumental recommendation to remove Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, which we know is just waiting DEA sign off, but you can see the dominoes starting to fall. Also, over 800 banks, let me repeat, over 800 banks filed to allow MJ businesses, FinCEN reports. So the U.S. Department of Treasury is getting hundreds more requests from banking institutions to work with MJ businesses. I did a whole video specifically on this article, which you can check that out on your own time. Also, in not so great news, Minnesota's new MJ czar steps down after 1 day. Just a day after appointing Aaron Dupree as the new director of Office of MJ Management, Minnesota is czarless. So we'll see what happens there. We'll be covering it. Wholesale MJ prices rise in key states, but downward pressure is expected, as reported by MJ Biz Daily. And as we know, a lot of the wholesale, there's not as much taxation on that, which results in better margin. Also from MJ Moment, God Almighty, no one should be in prison over MJ possession, Biden says at a congressional Black Caucus event. So amen to that. I think we can all agree. It's medicine of the future, right? It should be on the same level playing field as alcohol and tobacco. So I 100% agree. Wisconsin lawmakers introduced bill to legalize MJ. So two legislators who introduced the legalization bill described Wisconsin's current laws as antiquated and deeply unjust. So moreover on the acceptance of this amazing industry and, like I said, medicine of the future. Nebraska advocacy group continues pushing for medical MJ legalization. So again, more dominoes starting to fall. Game theory playing out. MJ producer Organogram files $500 million Canadian shelf prospectus. So MJ producer Organogram filed a preliminary short form based shelf prospectus to raise up to 500 million Canadian dollars or 370 million US by issuing securities over a 25-month period. So the stock hasn't really been participating as much as some of the other peers, and that might have something to do with it. We also saw that Cannabis raised 25 million through private placements. Also, who was the other one that did Columbia Care and the Cannabis Co. And there's some more more stock offerings as well that are coming later on in this video that I'll cover. But that's generally what happens, right? When we start to see prices recover and we see 100%, 200% increases in some of these MJ names off the bottom, and we know that cash is tight and cash is king. And with rising interest rates, it's making it harder and harder to stay afloat and to keep cash reserves, right? So this is something that we need to expect when you break out of a long-term downtrend and enter a new, momentum shift to the upside. U.S. Senate committee approves bipartisan MJ banking bill, sending it to the floor. So that was on September 27th when they had the Senate banking committee hearing, and I already did videos on that covering it. I even did the whole hearing as well, which you can check that out for full details on that. Also, Chuck Schumer pledges to bring committee-passed MJ banking bill to the floor in the Senate very soon as GOP senators vow to kill it. Well, you can try, but we'll just keep coming back, right? You knock us down, but we get up again. And it's just a matter of time. It's not a matter of if, but when this banking legislation gets passed and things get rescheduled, even descheduled, treated as alcohol and tobacco. In my opinion, those are poison, and MJ is medicine. Also, Schumer touts bipartisan momentum behind MJ banking bill that he plans to bring to the floor soon with more criminal justice provisions. So hopefully that should help it get across the finish line. But as we know, it stalled. It's never ever passed the Senate. So the fact that it did in the Senate Banking Committee is great. And then we'll see if it can make its way past the Senate floor, and then it'll go on to the House, which they've already passed 7 times, right? So I don't think it is now Republican controlled though, but I don't think that's going to be an issue, and then it'll go off to the president for signage. 22 state attorney generals call on Congress to pass MJ banking bill that's heading to Senate floor. So this is great to see more and more supporters behind this movement. Also, British Columbia MJ stores can now receive samples from producers. So again, we're still so early, folks. It's not even funny. The MJ Act is up for review here in Canada. So we could see some improvements with regards to packaging, labeling, advertising, marketing, taxation, all of that good stuff. And we know, Quebec still with a very, very low number of stores. We've got so much catching up to do and growth here just in our own backyard here in Canada. New York to issue 1,500 more MJ business licenses. So New York regulators plan to issue as many as 1,500 new MJ business licenses as unsold MJ continues to build up among growers in the market, where only a couple of dozen retailers have opened their doors. Crazy. Also, 3 in 5 Ohio voters support MJ legalization measure ahead of November election, new poll finds. So that's going to be another key market and state as well. So back to the stock offering subject, Aurora MJ sells 46.25 million shares at 73 cents Canadian. The stock started to trend back toward that price. So when we have stock offerings and it's set at a certain price, if we're above that, generally we see selling pressure and come down to right around where that deal price was. Or if we're below it and they get a higher than current market price, then we should see prices start to trend back towards, to the upside, right? And then moreover, with regards to stock offerings, Curaleaf sells stock at $6. So the company announced the price of $6 per offered security. Canaccord Genuity, who is acting as the sole underwriter and bookrunner for the offering, has agreed to purchase 2.7 million offered securities from the company for a total gross proceeds of the company of 16.2 million Canadian. Tim Condor appointed permanent CEO of MJ MSO Tilt Holdings. Not a company I follow, a whole lot, but definitely on the radar. Moving on, we're super bullish. Canopy Growth CEO says on U.S. regulations and the MJ industry. I did the video on this I gave my thoughts and opinions, and I included that BNN interview. So if you haven't seen that, check that out. Also, Seattle's Jones Soda brings MJ brand Mary Jones to Washington State. Can't wait to try these, actually. If anybody's tried them, let me know in the comment section below. We also have earnings coming from Tilray. As a reminder, next week, it'll be on October 4th on Wednesday. And there's also going to be a conference call in the morning. I've already done an earnings preview video on that, so you can check that out for some estimates, what analysts are expecting in terms of revenue, and then EPS for the quarter as well. But they are expecting a loss, but they're expecting a slight increase in estimates for the revenue. Actually, it's a pretty big increase from their previous estimate, but it's still lower than what we came in actual last quarter. So that's going to be very, very interesting. All eyes will be on the leader Tilray going into next week. Moreover, on Tilray, potently Canadian MJ brand Canica launches Let Her Rip campaign. Such a Canadian term, Let Her Rip. If anybody's familiar with the rednecks, community, or has any friends in that sort of, stereotypical redneck, it's kind of funny because, so many people here, Let Her Rip. But yeah, I used to grow up, and I grew up in PEI. I used to live in PEI, so lots of rednecks around, and this should resonate definitely with the MJ community as well. So, and the demographic, which is predominantly male and between the ages of 25 and 45, kind of like my YouTube channel and the analytics show. But Afghaniskunk, Ghost Gelato, Headbanger, Alien Guy, Grandpa's Stash, Ghost Gelato. So yeah, this is going to be interesting. And they're coming out. They had a bunch of new brands as well with the Redican brand. So they're coming out with, King Sherb, Animal Runts, Sex Panther, Violet Fog. So there's a ton of new craft brands coming. And they have their Broken Coast, right? So this is just an absolute powerhouse in the making. I can't believe how bullish I am long-term on Tilray. And craft beer, what's not to love there? I absolutely love craft beer. So I couldn't be more happier as a Tilray shareholder, not going to lie. American Nurses Association officially recognizes MJ as a formal specialty practice area. So again, even the industry, right? Even multiple industries are starting to embrace this head on. So it's literally just a domino effect playing out. Decibel confirms resignation of director. So Decibel on September 29th announced that it had accepted the resignation of Paul Wilson in respect of his position as a director of the company. So we'll see that's a name that I'm really starting to. I did take a position, what was it, like a month ago or something like that in Decibels, just a small position to start, but definitely a name that's making some waves here in the western coast of Canada, and can't wait to see where that company goes. But could even be a buyout target potentially, but I'm definitely going to be following that one, covering it a lot more on the channel as things and as time goes on. SNDL and Nova MJ extend outside date for closing of their strategic partnership. This was on September 28th. So they announced that while other provincial approvals have been received, the continued review by one provincial regulator has necessitated a further extension of the outside date for the closing of the previously announced strategic partnership. SNDL and Nova anticipate that the transaction will close on or before October 30th, 2023, subject to receipt of regulatory approval. So we'll be covering that as well. Auxly announces interim extension of Auxly Leamington credit facility. So Auxly announced that it had received an interim extension of the maturity date of the amended and restated credit facility between its wholly owned subsidiary, Auxly Leamington Inc., and a syndicate of lenders led by the Bank of Montreal as administrative agent until November 30th, 2023. Bank of Montreal has got its hands all over the MJ industry. They love it. And was it Tammy Chen, I can't remember her name. She's an analyst there that's always part of the conference calls and whatnot as well. But yeah, they're just as bullish on this on this sector as I am, and obviously we'll see more and more institutions come in eventually, and the real key is going to be when U.S. MSOs uplist to the NYSE and the NASDAQ, right? And then it'll be all an institutional game at that point, and that's when the floodgates will really start to open up. Also, High Tide places 38th on the Globe and Mail's 5th annual ranking of Canada's top growing companies. So as you know, I've been covering High Tide on this channel ad nauseum, and very, very bullish on that as well. Definitely one of my top picks. It's in my top 5 holdings. If you look up one of my videos, I just posted my top 5 MJ holdings, and then I posted a separate video, my entire MJ portfolio breakdown with percentages. So if you want to check that out, you can do so. But yeah, like I said, High Tide in the retail space here in Canada, got an absolute foothold on the retail space, and it just continues to grow, continues to see annually and quarterly revenue increases. I'm very, very bullish on High Tide, and they've got a nice strategy for the US as well, which we should anticipate over the next couple of years, in my opinion. Also, bill to legalize MJ in Germany advances after state representatives failed to block it. So opponents of the proposed bill to legalize MJ in Germany did not muster enough support to block the measure in the legislative body representing states, meaning it will now continue through the process. So again, you can try to stop us, you can try to stop this amazing industry and medicine of the future, but you won't, because people want what they want, and it's no surprise that an overwhelming majority of people want this thing legalized, right? So again, you can knock us down, but we'll get right back up again, and we'll come back twice as strong with twice as many people backing it, because we will not rest until we get this industry recognized and legitimized. Also, MJ Moment reports New Jersey officials to put $5.5 million in MJ revenue toward hospital-based violence intervention program. So you see what states are able to do and what countries are able to do. They're able to take this revenue, right? Either from what, if it's a retailer, a producer, right? Doesn't matter. It's all going towards the greater good and good causes, right? And this is what we can do with this. It creates more jobs for the economy, gives people what they want. It's medicine, right? It helps people with epilepsy, all these different diseases and things, ailments that are, cancer and pain relief and all that. It's a good substitute for opioids. But as we know, Big Pharma has the most to lose, and then, big alcohol and tobacco. So they're not going to, squash it, but they're going to roll it out in a very, very slow phase, right? And especially when you're talking the U.S. government, they don't do anything fast, right? They definitely are super slow, but they're never first, but they're never last, because they know they have the biggest economy in the world. That once they get behind something and embrace it and go full force behind it, they'll just leapfrog everybody else, right? Because of the sheer economic impact that they have as the world's biggest economy. But BZAM completes sale of Maple Ridge facility. So BZAM had announced that it completed the sale of Maple Ridge, BC facility per the sale agreement between the company and arm's length party. Total gross proceeds received from the transaction were $3.8 million. And that's it. But going to end it there. Yeah, let me know in the comments below. Lots of news. I don't even cover everything that happened, but you can see that there's never a dull moment in MJ, and just kind of puts things into perspective ever since I've been doing these videos, how much actually happens on a weekly basis. A lot of people don't, some weeks, you don't really see too much hitting the mainstream headlines. But if you actually dig deeper, there's a lot going on a bi-week to week basis, right? So, but love to see it. Love to hear everybody's comments and feedback. What do you think of this news? What do you think of this new format? Always love hearing from you. But yeah, I'm just super grateful to be alive and experiencing this amazing industry. And it's only going to happen once. We're only going to see this, accepted and legalized across the globe once. And I'm here for it. And I'll be here making videos for the rest of my life. So going to end it there, it's Rod with Pow Group. Thanks again for joining us on The Pursuit of Wealth. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your weekend. See you on the next video.